The Big Apple, as they say, or better known as New York City, this populous city in the eastern region of the United States is known for its many prominent attractions, such as the Empire State Building, Central Park, Times Square, and much more. The city's current population, according to the United States Census, is estimated at about 8,323,340 as of this year, with expectations to reach 9 million by 2040. According to the most recent American Community Survey, the racial composition of New York City consists of 42.67% white residents, 24.27% Black or African American residents, 15.12% other races classifications, 13.95% Asian residents, 3.51% of two or more other races, and 0.43% of Native American residents. That being said, economically, Manhattan is the world's leading center of banking, finance, high technology, real estate, and much more. Nearly 70% of households rent their homes, many of which are rent stabilized, as indicated by the latest Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Land prices and thus home prices are exceptionally high, particularly in or near prime areas of Manhattan. The Great Recession was less severe in New York City than in most of the areas, and since then, the city has experienced its strongest economic boom in decades, with much of this growth seen in the city's outer boroughs. Historically, New York became the capital of national communications, trade, and finance, and of pop culture and high culture. More than 1/4 of the 300 largest corporations in the 1920s were headquartered in the city. New York has the critical components to become the most sustainable, resilient city in the world. A committed citizenry, extensive public sector resources, infrastructure expertise, access to private capital, strong labor unions, and science and technology innovators. That being said, looking forward, the city's most recent sustainability plan was developed in 2014 by the City of New York under Mayor Bill de Blasio, aiming essentially at a greener, greater New York, a stronger, more resilient New York. According to the PLA NYC Progress Report on Sustainability and Resiliency, the city hopes to progress in expanding and creating new pathways to advance environmental and infrastructural initiatives, and will continue to work towards their goals of sustainable and resilient city for all New Yorkers. Their vision will provide more units of affordable housing for the city's increasing population and, as a result, hopefully further reduce the city's carbon emissions. New York can easily be considered as one of the most diverse cities in the United States, ranking 4th in the country, as mentioned by Schonfeld and his colleagues in their research. There are over 1,000 cultural organizations in the 5 boroughs, each with specific ties to communities, each with vastly different organizational structures and sizes, and each integral to the diversity of culture that defines New York City. Nonetheless, the city takes various systematic approaches towards institutional diversification in academia and cultures of the workplace. Many institutions, such as the City University of New York and NYU, aim at inclusion and continuing to include diverse communities which enrich their overall academic environments. One of the prime reasons the city has continued to thrive is because of its strength and flexibility. The One New York City plan, made in 2015, is divided up into 4 sections. The 4 sections are called visions. Vision 1 focuses on the growth of the city's economy through jobs and businesses. Initiative 3 of the Industry Expansion and Cultivation section of Vision 1, the Small Business Plan aims to decrease the financial regulatory burden faced by many small businesses. This will be done by investing $27 million over the next 5 years to support the difficulties that may arise. New York City is composed of thousands of locally owned businesses that spur the economy for the state, but are also a vital part of what makes the city so special. The One New York City plan also incorporates the layout of the Career Pathways program in Initiative 1 of the Workforce Development section in this vision. The goal of the pathways is to help people who have had a difficult time finding a job, and by providing appropriate training and educational programs to assist them in employment. This plan of action increases economic growth for the city, as well as increasing inclusivity in the workforce. Vision 2 of the One New York City plan is geared towards improving the social lives of the residents. One proposal is called the launch of neighborhood health hubs. As stated in Initiative 2 of the Integrated Government and Social Services sector of this vision, neighborhood health hubs focus on linking medical and mental health services in areas with high health disparities. These health hubs are to be located in neighborhoods so residents can have easy and convenient access to these services. An important component of Initiative 1 of the Healthy Neighborhoods Active Living section of Vision 2 is directed towards the access of nutritious food to communities. One New York City states it will support community gardens and urban farms in neighborhoods to have access to quality, fresh, and affordable produce. The city plans to give greater support to large urban farming projects as well as creating more food production gardens through initiatives like the Gardening and Greening program. The One New York City plan illustrates a concrete plan to enhance the lives of all the current and future residents. The Plan New York City report is an all-encompassing assessment which includes a wide range of environmental projects. The Million Trees New York City program at the time has already planted over 830,000 trees in the city. The program also engages citizens in events in urban spaces to teach the community how to care for green spaces. Unoccupied sites that were previously developed and now remain unusable are areas nicknamed brownfields. The report states that these sites have been vacant for nearly 20 years, with 70% being located in disadvantaged areas. However, with grassroots planning and working with community-based organizations, environmental remediation is being accomplished. According to the Brownfield Cleanup Program, about 70% of these spaces are slated for new housing, with nearly 20% of that being considered affordable housing. The revitalization of these sites will create neighborhoods that will remain safe, clean places for residents. New York City tracks sustainability indicators to keep tabs on the successes of their environmental initiatives. In the housing and neighborhoods category, the percent of new housing located within half a mile to public transportation is available. The ability of citizens to use public transportation reduces pollution and energy consumption and improves air quality. Energy and climate change both track greenhouse gas emissions to mitigate climate change. All of these sustainability indicators provide a framework for measuring the progress of Plan New York City and will continue to keep New York City on the right track. As per New York Global Partners, water and energy infrastructure, affordable housing, and waste removal are some of the most pressing concerns for the residents of New York City. The plan intends to make New York one of the major cities with the cleanest air, in addition to reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 30%. The one glaring issue in this plan is New York City's transportation infrastructure. While the New York City Global Partners do talk about Plan New York City's initiatives regarding this topic, they fail to give an explanation into how they will obtain the resources to accomplish this, as state legislators have refused to fund it. Even MTA, which has collaborated with the City of New York in the transportation sector in the past, fails to provide information regarding the repair of city transportation infrastructure, such as subway tracks. At the same time, MTA mentions their plan to increase the amount of electric-powered public transportation in the city. The future of transportation is electric. The city should, however, focus more efforts and funds towards repairing the railway systems in place currently. Plan New York City should look into hydrogen and electrical-powered subway cars in the future. Adding more vehicles into the city will result in more traffic congestion and greenhouse gas emissions. Focusing on the subway system helps the flow of transportation and reduces emissions, making it a more sustainable form of public transport. With these plans and solutions to build a more resilient and sustainable New York City, I'm certain this city's future will be bigger and brighter than it already is.
It's up to you, New York, New York. New York, New York. I want to wake up in a city that never sleeps.